The following program, The Russ Belville Show, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate to the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate any illegal activity and encourage all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers on The Russ Belville Show are their own, and The Russ Belville Show cannot be held legally responsible for their validity or reliability. Viewer discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think that we think that we criminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Yeah, I hear you had a question for me.
Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
We love it.
Good day, tokers and tokettes, and welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, February 4th, 2014, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Thank you for being here. We got all sorts of news and information for you on today's show, as we do every weekday here at 420radio.org. 3 p.m., we're live every weekday Pacific time, but you can catch our replays at 6 p.m. and 9 p.m., 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. Pacific time. Just find the time that matches your schedule. We'll be here for you with all the latest news for the cannabis community, including a story that we're going to rant on today. You may have seen this come across. I just saw the Office of National Drug Control Policy, the drug czar's Twitter feed, proclaiming the headline, this WebMD headline saying that marijuana driving fatalities have tripled in the past decade. We're going to show you why that is fear-mongering and debunk that as best we can when we get to our Radical Rant section at the end of the show. Also on today's show, we've got some new video from our friends at High Times Magazine. First, of course, you know that Super Bowl 48 was just played on Sunday between the Seahawks and the Broncos out there in East Rutherford, New Jersey. New York City was kind of the host city for the Super Bowl. And of course, High Times Magazine is headquartered in New York City. So they sent a reporter out to talk to the people, Seahawks and Broncos fans, leading up to what turned out to be a slaughter by the Seahawks. We've also got some cannabis kitchen videos, the High Times Kitchen, with some great recipes for you. If you want to learn how to make smoked mac and cheese, hookah lounge hummus, and jalapeno poppers, today is the day for you. Those recipes are coming up at 1:30 the hour. Also on today's show, there's some Reefer Madness coming out of ABC News, where they published a little slideshow on the 5 ways that pot can kill you, or not. And of course, it's not in all 5. And in fact, all 5 need to be debunked. So we'll take care of that in Behind the Headlines. We've also got our daily Toker Tunes today. It's Electric Tuesday. Electric Bob will be calling in. We've got some music tonight coming to us from, what's the name of the group? Where'd it go? FFF, Triple F, which I don't know if that has anything to do with Triple H, but we'll find out. Also, we've got our 420 radio news coming up next. We've got the Oregon legalization in the headlines once again. Another sad story out of New Mexico. Drug crime lab tampering going on in Florida. Arizona legalization. And lower suicide rates in medical marijuana states. Stick around.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Cast your eyes up to the skies. What is it to live and die? Calculated stars and lights.
Cannabis Outreach Collective is an alternative health and wellness option located in Gladstone, Oregon, that serves patients in the Portland area and beyond. We are a full-service alternative health and wellness collective accommodating patients with natural, organic, holistic, and homeopathic remedies, nutritional guidance, advice, education, and medical cannabis, fully in accordance with Oregon OMMP law. You can find out more about Cannabis Outreach Collective on Facebook at COC503 or by emailing cannabisoutreachcollective503@gmail.com or by telephone at 503-853-1319. Check out our menu on Weed Maps and visit Cannabis Outreach Collective today. 420 Radio, your ticket to the High Times Cannabis Cups. When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you don't just want any attorney. You want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The Law Office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Lauren Vasquez knows the details of California marijuana law from both a personal and professional angle. Lauren Vasquez rose from the ranks of college normal activist to become one of the Bay Area's best marijuana lawyers. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com. The number again is 855-MMJ-LAWS, 855-665-5297 for your fired-up lawyer, Lauren Vasquez. Lauren Vasquez is an activist attorney you can trust. Call today.
This is your 420 Radio News for Tuesday, February 4th, 2014, brought to you by the National Cannabis Coalition. I'm Russ Belville. Oregon's governor has signaled his support for legislative action on marijuana legalization. Governor John Kitzhaber, a medical doctor, was the latest to jump on the legalization bandwagon, meeting with the state's newspaper editors. Kitzhaber said, quote, "I hear the drum beats from Washington and Colorado," end quote, as he voiced support for a legislative act rather than a citizen initiative to legalize marijuana. Quote, "I want to make sure we have a thoughtful regulatory system," Kitzhaber said. "The legislature would be the right place to craft that," end quote. The editorial board of the state's largest paper, the Oregonian, agreed, writing, quote, "Lawmakers should remember that they'll have to live with the results of the November 2014 election, so why not refer a measure of their own to the November 2014 ballot," end quote. The Salem Statesman Journal, the capital city's newspaper, quoted Governor Kitzhaber as saying that marijuana legalization is, quote, "probably inevitable, and I think we need to start thinking about how we're going to manage it," end quote. Marijuana smokers just might want to stay out of the state of New Mexico. We have yet another lawsuit from a citizen detained by New Mexico police for suspicion of drug crimes who claims the cops violated her body in conducting illegal searches. Lori Ford of Silver City was pulled over for speeding. She refused to let officers search her car, so they impounded and towed it while awaiting a search warrant. When she went to retrieve her car, Ford was arrested and strip searched by a female officer over the charges of possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. Those charges were dropped when cops couldn't find the evidence. This lawsuit comes on the heels of a $1.6 million settlement paid by Hidalgo County taxpayers to a man subjected to multiple body cavity searches, enemas, x-rays, and a colonoscopy in a futile police search for drugs. 2 other lawsuits over humiliating cavity searches are pending in New Mexico. Another drug test crime lab, another chemist accused with tampering with evidence. Investigators for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement believe as many as 2,600 drug cases may have been compromised. A lab chemist in Pensacola allegedly stole prescription pain pills that had been seized as evidence in drug cases and replaced them with non-prescription pills. Commissioner Gerald Bailey said the chemist worked on cases with 80 law enforcement agencies since 2006. It is unknown how much pain medication leaked from the state's police agencies, but Bailey said, quote, "The quantities are large. We don't know if the individual is a user or a trafficker," end quote. Bailey has police across the state reviewing their evidence lockers to determine just how far the evidence swapping extends. Hundreds of drug crime defendants may have their cases dropped altogether. Bailey has proposed increasing employee drug testing at drug testing labs to combat any future thefts. A state representative in Arizona has filed a bill to legalize possession and cultivation of marijuana. Representative Ruben Gallego's proposal would allow adults 21 and older to possess an ounce of pot and grow 5 marijuana plants at home. Representative Gallego said his goal is to take marijuana out of the black market and regulate adult use. Quote, "We as a state should try to channel what's already going to occur," he said. "Right now it is so prevalent that it is practically legal. Everyone knows someone who is doing it or has done it. We will also be taxing it, and we're assuring that where it's sold is an appropriate place to be sold," end quote. Representative Gallego, a Democrat, has 12 other Democratic co-sponsors. The bill now goes to the Republican-controlled Arizona House and the desk of Speaker Andy Tobin, who in 2012 characterized Arizona's Proposition 203 as, quote, "an ill-advised experiment with so-called medical marijuana," end quote. Data from a new study shows a correlation between legalizing medical marijuana and a reduction in suicide rates. Researchers from Montana State University, Colorado University Denver, and San Diego State University analyzed state-level suicide data from 1990 to 2007. After controlling for economic conditions and state policies, researchers found a 10.8% reduction in suicides per 100,000 among young men aged 20 to 29, and a 9.4% reduction in men aged 30 to 39. Women's suicide rates did not seem to respond to medical marijuana laws. Daniel Rees, who co-authored the paper, explained, quote, "Young adult males are the ones who really seem to respond to legalization of medical marijuana. There's evidence that they respond by drinking less. You see a decline in traffic fatalities, especially alcohol-related ones," end quote. Researchers are unsure whether the reduction in male suicide is due to the use of marijuana to deal with stressful life events, the substitution of marijuana for alcohol that is linked to suicide, or other factors. This has been your 420 Radio News for Tuesday, February 4th, 2014. I'm Russ Belville. Transcripts of 420 Radio News are available exclusively at the National Cannabis Coalition. Visit ncc420.com to download them today. When we come back, we'll go behind the headlines and take a look at ABC News' 5 Ways Pot Can Kill You or Not. You're listening to The Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. We'll be right back.
Hey tokers and tokettes, Radical Russ here to introduce you to my friend Matt and all the staff at Lush LED Lighting. Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED Lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. If you thought LEDs were meet the tech of today, Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Let's just say I appear at a lot of events with the masters of indoor horticulture, and the harvests I saw from Lush LED Lighting were big, tight, sticky, and very effective. Check out LushLEDlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Double your rewards and lower your expenses with Lush LED Lighting.
I'm Sub Cool from Team Green Avenger. At TGAgenetics.com, we are working on the leading edge of medical strains. Our strains are rigorously tested for THC, CBD, THCV, and other critical cannabinoids. Know your grow. Check out our genetic diversity at TGAgenetics.com, the home of Jelly Bean, Jack the Ripper, Vortex, and other award-winning cannabis strains.
420 Radio is 24-hour marijuana legalization radio. Check out our morning lineup every weekday at 7 a.m. Pacific Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. On Mondays, it's Drug Truth Network Century of Lies with Dean Becker from Houston, Texas. On Tuesdays, Electric Bob's Boogaloo with Electric Bob from Scottsdale, Arizona. On Wednesdays, Medical Marijuana Radio with Larry Love from Santa Fe, New Mexico. On Thursdays, a cannabis broadcast with John K. and Scott W. from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, Canada. And on Fridays, All the Hypocrisy with Jimmy Reefer Cake and Polly Madman from Maine. That's 7 a.m. Pacific Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time and 3 p.m. GMT, right here on 420radio.org.
Welcome back, everybody. Quarter after the hour. Time for us to go behind the headlines. And the headline today on ABC News is 5 ways pot can kill you or not. Yeah. So this is one of those little slideshow listicle kind of things, really short, but it just deserves to be debunked. First of all, they do open up by saying, while it would take an estimated 240 joints to overdose on marijuana, there are at least 5 other ways the drug can put you at risk, not counting being crushed by your stash like this Brazilian trafficker. That's the guy who got in the car wreck and the 150 pounds of weed crushed him against the steering wheel. I don't know about this 240 joints to overdose on marijuana, but let's not even worry about that right now. Let's get right to what they claim on ABC News. Number 1, it hurts your lungs, they say. Like tobacco, marijuana is usually smoked, and smoke of any kind irritates the lung. I'm fine with that. We're good so far. Some studies have equated a single joint to as many as 20 cigarettes in terms of lung damage. Yeah. All right, well, let's see. I smoke probably a joint or 2 or 3, some days 4 a day if I was to take all the bowls and roll them. So 4 joints a day, that'd be like a 4-pack a day habit. That would, right. Every medical doctor I have seen in the past decade or so has given me a very clean bill of health when it comes to lungs. I do get a little bit of a hack, a little bit more sputum than you'd like sometimes, but that could be easily cured by vaporization if I just would stick to it. This says, in causing chronic coughs and predisposing users to dangerous lung infections. That's not true at all. In fact, cannabis users have less risk of COPD and some of these other things than a lot of tobacco smokers and even non-smokers. They do mention that when it comes to cancer risk, the jury is still out. It is not yet known whether marijuana smoking contributes to risk for lung cancer. Well, it's actually known that people that smoke marijuana have less risk of head, neck, and lung cancer. Dr. Tashkin brought that information to us in 2006. Their number 2 piece of information, it might hurt your heart. Smoking weed can raise blood pressure and double your heart rate. Yeah, it can hurt your heart in about the same way climbing a flight of stairs can hurt your heart. It's not that huge of a risk. But if you've got an extremely weak ticker, maybe you ought not smoke pot, but still not too worried about it. This also says some studies suggest marijuana use can increase your risk of heart attack, particularly in the first hour, but one 15-year study found no such effect. So they're kind of waffling on that. Oh, this was from Good Morning America, by the way. Forgot to mention that at the beginning. But then there's a line here that I've never heard of this, and I've talked to a lot of physicians about marijuana. The drug is also linked to cannabis arteritis, an arterial disease that can lead to amputations. I'm calling BS on this. Never heard of such a thing as cannabis arteritis. Their third point was that it can baffle the brain. You'd be baffled. Marijuana can make it harder to remember and learn new things. And then Paula Riggs, she's a board member of Project SAM, says it disrupts the development of circuits. The latest study shows regular use when you're an adolescent is associated with a 6 to 8 point loss in IQ. Sorry, that is false. That has been debunked in the very same research journal that published the information. It has much more to do with whether you're poor, what your family has all to do. Yeah, when you're high, you can be a little goofy. You can forget some things, but there is no long-term cognitive damage from marijuana use. The number 4 part, it can crush your concentration, interfere with judgment, concentration, and coordination. Really? You want to come sit and watch me multitask doing this show 5 days a week and tell me it interferes with judgment, concentration, and coordination? Good luck with that. They also claim double the risk of being in a car accident. We're actually going to go over that quite a bit in the Radical Rant, so I'm going to leave that for now. And their number 5 point of how pot can kill you or not, it can mess with your mood. Well, yeah, that belongs in the headline, it could kill you or not. Marijuana use has been linked to depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. But you know what? marijuana actually has been used for depression and anxiety, and we just talked about in the news how there is less suicide among men below the age of 40 in the states that have legalized medical marijuana. They also say in high doses the drug can trigger hallucinations and paranoia and worsen the symptoms of schizophrenia. Hey, I'm not advocating anybody with mental illnesses to be using cannabis, but if you've got any of that pot that triggers some hallucinations, please send it my way. I'm quite interested. Man, the reefer madness is thick these days. It's like they're in their last dying gasps.
You know, maybe it's really just satire.
Maybe I'm missing the joke.
They've gone to the point of needing to put satire in their, they've gone tabloid.
They've gone tabloid. Well, check out that story. I've been tweeting about it all day at my Radical Russ account, and the Twitter handle of the reporter who brought you that piece of junk. You can tweet her back too.
Let 'em bring in the beat. Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, The Russ Belville Show, Ganja John, and Cascadia Concentrates, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Adam's meticulous designs are individually crafted and screened in vibrant high-definition color. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org. Let 'em bring in the beat.
Support the Russ Belville Show. Text the word Russ to 420-420 and connect with the National Cannabis Coalition. You can also send $10 to the Russ Belville Show right from your smartphone. That's Russ to 420-420. You're listening to Radical Russ on the Russ Belville Show.
I'll say little red Corvette, darling, your mud's too fast. Little red Corvette, you need a lover that's gonna lay.
Georgia.
Hi, this is Willie Nelson. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 1920s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stopped arresting responsible marijuana smokers. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Electric Tuesday, featuring the latest in electronic dance music and other cutting-edge genres. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
Welcome back, everybody. 23 and a half after the hour. Time for us to get electric with Electric Bob on the line. How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Russ?
I'm fantastic. I got your picture up from our trip to Arizona, and it did that little demon eye thing. We've got that red eye thing going. It's perfect for Electric Tuesday, I think. Are you there? Did we lose you, Bob? Having some difficulties?
Sorry, I had to turn down the stream. I didn't realize I had it on.
Oh, we're like one of those radio situations. Okay, hey, man, so this band you've got is called Triple F. Is that anything like Triple H from the WWE?
No, it's not related to Triple H. He's a producer out of the Netherlands. He produces a drum and bass ragged jungle. It's like a faster, harder edge of drum and bass. This is a tune. It mixes up some reggae and some jungle and a few other genres.
Right on. And what do you got going for the Electric Boogaloo that we got going on tomorrow night at 10 o'clock?
I got more music like this, drum and bass, jungle, raga, jungle music.
Right on, man. All right, so we can look forward to that, an hour or 45 minutes worth of this kind of music from these kind of artists like Triple F here. This one's called Calm Before the Storm, and thanks for bringing it to us.
No problem, Russ. You take it easy.
All right.
One thing open at the ear now. This is my way of showing love to the people then.
mission.
Support the Russ Belville Show. Text the word Russ to 420-420 and connect with the National Cannabis Coalition. You can also send $10 to the Russ Belville Show right from your smartphone. That's Russ to 420-420. You're listening to Radical Russ on the Russ Belville Show.
This is Radical Russ encouraging you to take a look at the Weed Blog every day. Johnny Green and the staff at the Weed Blog are on top of all the latest developments in the fight to end marijuana prohibition nationwide. You can even get the Weed Blog on your smartphone by installing the Weed Blog app for iPhone and Android. If it's about weed, it's on the Weed Blog, including my original writing. So don't delay. Read the Weed Blog today.
Funky.
Oh yeah, that's right. Grooving, keeping it mellow here at the Funky Roller Ring. So join me, Big Daddy, every Thursday night. The doors open at 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific, baby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Groove on. Groove on.
Let's get the session started because it's 420.
Since 1974, High Times Magazine has been the chronicle of the fight for cannabis freedom. Each month we take a look at the latest interviews, news, grow tips, equipment, music, and events featured in this month's issue with our High Times preview.
All right, this weekend we will be at the High Times Medical Cannabis Cup in San Bernardino, California. If you'd like to be a part of my VIP team and get in for free, send me an email, russ@radicalruss.com. I need lots of help. In the meantime, here's some great new videos from our friends at High Times Magazine, Super Bowl, and Cannabis Kitchen.
All we do is pour it up all night, drink sound. That's all we do. That's all we do. And all we do is light it up all night. All you see is strange clouds. Strange clouds. Strange clouds. Yeah. All we do is pour it up all night, drink sound.
Hey everybody, this is Mike Hughes, High Times Magazine, and we are in Times Square, New York to talk to people about pot and football. So you probably know Washington, Colorado, they legalized pot. Now the Broncos and the Seahawks are in the Super Bowl. Is that a coincidence?
Marijuana does. I mean, it's just.
Did it help them get there?
I believe it heightens everything. You know what I mean? It just enhances. So I mean, why not just make it legal for everybody?
2012, Washington and Colorado, they legalized pot.
Yep.
Now the Seahawks and the Broncos are in the Super Bowl. Is that a coincidence?
It's meant to happen.
Meant to happen.
Yeah, you need to have laid back, chilled nerves to win the big game, right?
Right.
And to recover, you know, there's only one thing that smooths it out.
It's the miracle of marijuana. That's what it is. When you legalize it, that's when the whole state gets better. Teams get better. Communities get better. Just legalize this shit, man.
All right, so if New York State legalized pot, do you think the Jets would make the Super Bowl?
No, they stink.
I don't think so.
No.
No.
I think it would help.
You think it would help?
I think it would help. I think
Traditionally, the mayors of the towns that are in the Super Bowl, they place a little friendly wager on the game. What do you think the mayors of Denver and Seattle should bet on this game?
A whole heap.
What do you think that the mayors of Seattle and Denver should bet on this Super Bowl?
pot brownies.
Medical marijuana. I would go with my medical versus your medical.
Pound versus a
Pound versus a pound. I like that.
I mean, I don't know. See who legalizes cocaine next? I don't know.
That was the Super Blow.
The Super Blow.
Pot brownies. Or a huge pot cake.
Pot cake.
Yes.
Okay. That sounds pretty good.
I think so.
I would like to have some of that. Commissioner Roger Goodell recently said that he's open to the idea of medical pot if it helps concussions. How do you think that would change the game?
To tell you the truth, man, they need that, man. All these medical pills that they're giving them, it causes more problems and stuff like that. The weed, man, cures everything.
How do you think medical pot would change the game of football?
there'll be a lot of people going off saying that they have injuries after.
Got like a little bit of a tennis elbow situation.
Yeah.
Do you think they should allow medical pod in the NFL?
I think they should expand upon it. I think if it's truly medically necessary and it's proven that it really works, why shouldn't you allow people to use it? I mean, truly.
I mean, it'll help them admit to having a concussion if they say, hey, I can smoke weed. I have a concussion, why not?
So it's like a reward system. All right, you guys know the players. Is there anybody on either team that you think might be a stoner? Does anyone look like a stoner?
Omaha!
Peyton Manning?
Where the fuck that comes from, man? He's a stoner.
Peyton Manning.
You think Peyton?
He looks so happy all the time.
Peyton Manning looks like a stoner to me.
Peyton Manning.
Omaha.
Who do you think looks like a stoner on the Broncos or the Seahawks?
I don't know.
Definitely Peyton's a big stoner. I would say he's one of those quiet stoners, like your parents.
Is anyone on Denver or Seattle you think looks like a stoner? Some of them act a little quirky, like Marshawn Lynch. He likes the Skittles.
Yes.
That might be a sign.
Yes. Marshawn Lynch.
Marshawn Lynch a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to smoke a blunt with him.
Offense or defense?
I'm going to go with defense on this one.
Yeah, so you think Seattle over Denver?
Seahawks over Denver, for sure.
Joints or bongs?
Joints.
Joints or bongs?
Bongs.
Blunts.
Blunts.
Joints or bongs?
Joints, you can put hash in easier. Or a G-pen, or a hash
Like the hash oil. Would you guys like to play catch with me? Yeah, that's a homemade Super Bowl. So what have we learned? Well, Peyton Manning's a stoner. The Jets are never going to make the Super Bowl. And the mayors of Denver and Seattle should bet a lot of weed on the game. That's pretty good. I'm pretty cold. That's a toboggan. This is Mike Hughes, High Times Magazine, wishing you a Super Bowl.
And all we do is light it up all night. All you see is strange clouds. Strange clouds. Yeah. All we do is play.
Why, hello there, my little ganja gourmets. Welcome to the High Times Kitchen. I'm your host, Allie. Today's a bit of a rainy day, so you know what that means. Golden Girls on TV and our ganja granny smoked mac and cheese. Now you can find this recipe in our High Times Cannabis Cookbook, so let's get cooking. First thing we're going to do is melt some butter. We're going to get a stick of our regular butter, plop that in there, and some of our refrigerated can of butter, which we made in our magical butter. So let's scoop that in. You let this melt for about 3 to 5 minutes. Now that we've melted our butter, we're going to add our flour. And we're just going to add a little by little. And you want to be whisking the whole time. Now we're ready to add our milk. And just like the flour, we're not going to pour it in all together. We're going to put it in little batches. So a little bit of the milk. Okay. Add a little more. If I poured the milk in all at once, it would become really lumpy, and we want it silky smooth. We have all of our milk in, and we've gotten to a wonderful creamy texture. We're going to add some of our seasoning. Now here I have salt, pepper, and cayenne pepper. I sometimes use white pepper with my cheese sauces because you can't see the pepper, but it doesn't really matter. And now we're going to take it off the heat because we're going to add our cheeses. I have cheddar, Parmesan, Swiss, and mozzarella. So let's start with our cheddar. Put it in a little bit at a time. You might want to stir it in. Onto the Swiss. Same process. We're just going to keep putting in the cheese. Keep mixing it in. Now we're going to add our mozzarella and then our Parmesan. Now we don't want to put all of our Parmesan in because I have a little surprise for you later on what we're going to use with it. Say about half for later. Stir that cheese in. Oh, it is ooey gooey and delicious. I wish I could bathe in this. So we've got it to the right consistency that we want to put in our pasta. Now, today I'm using penne. I just like it better. I boiled it in some water and then strained it. I'm just going to add it to our beautiful cheese mixture. So now we're going to stir the penne with the cheese sauce. I want to make sure every single piece of pasta is perfectly coated. Oh my gosh, this looks so good. Now I'm going to go get my baking pan and we're going to finish our Ganja Granny mac and cheese. I put our penne in a greased baking pan, and now here's a little surprise we're going to do with the Parmesan. We are going to mix it with some breadcrumbs and some beautiful can of butter, which we made in our magical butter. So you're going to put them all together. Make sure everything's in there. And this one you can just stir with your hands. Get it all mixed together. Now we don't want to really go crazy with it because it's going to get too bready. So just going to sprinkle on top. Once your breadcrumbs are evenly dispersed throughout the whole dish, you're going to want to put it in the oven at 350 for about 30 to 40 minutes. Just enough time to take a sick bong hit and watch an episode of The Golden Girls. Let's put it in. So it's been 35 minutes and I just took our gorgeous mac and cheese out of the oven at 350. And we're just gonna dig right in there. You wanna make sure that the crust is like a golden brown when you take it out. So now, I'm ready for my rainy day. Thank you for being a friend and stopping by the High Times Kitchen. And remember, you can make this recipe if you use our official High Times Cannabis Cookbook. I'm Allie. You stay tuned and stay stoned. Namaste, my little buds and stems. It's your host, Allie, and welcome to the High Times Kitchen. Today we're going to make our international favorite, our Hookah Lounge hummus. So let's get started. These are the ingredients that you're going to need for your hummus. A can of roasted red peppers, garbanzo beans or chickpeas, artichoke hearts, which you want drained and chopped, roasted garlic, which you could make at home or buy at a store, and lemon juice and our tahini. Now, tahini is a sesame paste. Might be a little hard to find in regular stores, so you might want to check out some international stores. So you're going to take all of these lovely ingredients and just throw it in the food processor. It's so simple. Let me show you how the magic happens. So now that we have all of those ingredients in our food processor, we're going to add our favorite ingredient, our THC oil, which we made in our lovely magical butter. Now, I warmed this up beforehand. You want to also. And we're just going to pour it into the mixture. Make sure it gets all over. Now, you can add more if needed. Basically, if you want to get a little bit more high, so we're going to add all of it. Okay. Alrighty. So we're going to put on the lid and start it. Okay. So it's been processing now for about 20 seconds. And we just want to add it to a cute little bowl. Alrighty. Oh, it looks so good. And you always will have some left over. Unless you have a big party. Now that we have our hummus, we're gonna just toast some pita bread to serve it with. You could do tortilla chips or anything that you really like, but the toasted pita really is the best bet because it really gives it that Mediterranean feel, and it's my personal favorite. So this is our Hookah Lounge hummus. You can find it in our High Times Cannabis Cookbook. It's Stones 10, so really good for a party. And it was wonderful seeing you again at the High Times Kitchen. I'm your host, Allie. Stay tuned and stay stoned. Allie back here for another High Times Kitchen with our High Times Cannabis Cookbook. Now, I'm feeling a little spicy today. I wanted to make something that really turns up the heat in my kitchen. So today we're going to make our stuffed stoned jalapeno poppers. First, we have to start out with our jalapenos. Remember to be very careful with these when you're cutting. Be sure not to rub your eyes, because let's face it, your eyes are red enough. You don't need them to be burning, huh? So first you're going to cut off all the heads, as you see I've done here. But you want to save them for later because we are going to use them as cute little hats when everything is done. We have to take out all of our seeds and the pith inside so that our jalapeno is completely hollow. You can even run some water through it just to make sure you get all of those seeds out. Now remember to first preheat your oven to 350 degrees, and as that's warming up, we're going to make the stuffing. We are going to add our beautiful can of oil, 2 tablespoons. Now you want to just let that heat up for a second. When that's ready, you're going to want to add your green onions. Remember, we have 1/4 cup. Oh, there's nothing I love more than the smell of onions cooking. Look at them sizzle. They're like my grandma tango night at her retirement home. When they start to bubble, you want to add your garlic. It's about 2 cloves. And when they melt together, oh, it's like peanut butter and jelly. We're making sure that the can of oil is really getting into those onions and that garlic. Now it is time to add our creamy, delicious peanut butter. Looks like something my dog made. We're gonna put it in here. Oh my gosh, it smells delicious. To get that great congealed substance that we have for our stuffing, we want to take it off the heat and put it in a bowl. Gorgeous. Now that's just going to sit and congeal together, and then we'll put it in our piping bag. And now it's time to stuff our jalapenos. We have our mixture in our piping bag. Now, if you're not a grande dame countess of the kitchen like I am, you can just take a plastic bag and cut a side corner. We take our hollowed out jalapeno and we take our piping bag or plastic bag filled with our stuffing, and we're just gonna go on the top and just push down. Get it nice in there. Just make sure that you're squeezing, and you'll see it start to form on the top. And there you go. Here we go again. See how easy and simple this is? Remember to put the little tops on top of all of the peppers. And now you're going to put your gorgeous little jalapeno poppers in the oven at 350 for 20 minutes, and then you are ready to serve. So I have just taken our jalapeno poppers out of the oven after 20 minutes and arranged them beautifully on a plate. Now remember that this recipe stones 10, so it's the best thing for a party. Well, I'm very happy you joined me today at the High Times Kitchen. And remember, for more information on these recipes or any other recipes, you can always purchase our High Times Cannabis Cookbook. I'm Allie, and you stay tuned and stay stoned.
New Approach Oregon is a coalition of Oregon citizens who believe that treating marijuana use as a crime has failed, costing taxpayers millions in law enforcement resources. We believe it's time for a new approach on marijuana, and that Oregonians deserve a chance to decide in the 2014 general election. Our approach will regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana for adults in Oregon. By implementing a strict system to regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana, we can move Oregon forward and create new revenue for critical services. Under our approach for 2014, 40% of funds would support K-12 education, 20% would support mental health and treatment services, and 15% would be dedicated to law enforcement. Public opinion, coupled with victories in Washington and Colorado, confirms marijuana legalization is inevitable. Visit our website at newapproachoregon.com or our page on Facebook at New Approach Oregon. Thank you.
420 Radio, turning red states and blue states green.
The beginning of the end started in 1996 when California legalized weed for so-called medical purposes. 16 years later, Washington and Colorado legalized it outright and let people sell it from storefronts. And what has been the result?
The generation of millions of dollars in tax revenue for the states and creation of hundreds of new jobs in a growing multi-billion-dollar industry?
No. Well, yes, but at what cost?
Let's see. The cost of all that police time and money that's now spent going after real criminals and prisons with enough room to hold them all?
No. Well, yes, but look at what it's done to the people.
You mean that fewer of them are dying of alcohol, tobacco, and prescription-related causes since they've switched to cannabis, and many more are receiving medical benefit from a cheap, non-toxic healing herb?
No. Well, yes to all of that, but I can smell pot from my backyard, and I can't tell my kids not to do it because it's illegal.
You want answers? I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore! You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth!
And you have offended the Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth!
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious.
And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
How WebMD hides the truth about marijuana and driving. Now, health-interested internet readers were shocked today by the headline from the popular medical website WebMD, which declared fatal car crashes involving pot use have tripled. The lead paragraph warns how marijuana legalization is becoming popular, but to be wary of its dark side. Quote, fatal crashes involving marijuana use tripled during the previous decade, end quote, writes WebMD, citing a new study coming from the Columbia University Mailman School of Public Health. Now, the researchers took a look at crash statistics from 6 states, California, Hawaii, Illinois, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and West Virginia, including over 23,500 drivers who died within 1 hour of a crash between 1999 and 2010. And they picked those 6 states because those 6 states do pretty extensive toxicology, so they can actually sort out who died, alcohol, cannabis, other drugs. In both 1999 and 2010, they found that alcohol contributed to about 40% of all fatality crashes. But in 1999, drugs contributed to 16% of fatality crashes compared to 28% in 2010. Worse, marijuana rose from contributing to 4% of all crashes to contributing back in 1999 to 12% in 2010, and that's the triple they're referring to. Sounds pretty dramatic, doesn't it? Triple the dead drivers from pot wrecks in a decade? Wow, if you went by WebMD's article, you'd think we'd be overwhelmed by stoned mayhem on the freeways by now. Yet it seems to me that driving now is a lot like driving a decade ago. Could WebMD be deceiving us? Well, the first hint you're being deceived is to notice the weasel words. Those are the words you can use to weasel out of being pinned down to facts when you're reporting on science. Notice it's crashes involving marijuana use and not marijuana causing fatality crashes. That's because all these data are telling us is that marijuana is detected in the blood of drivers who died within an hour of a crash. Notice no mention of whether crashes overall have risen. And if one bothers to Google the actual study, Trends in Alcohol and Other Drugs Detected in Fatally Injured Drivers in the United States, 1999 to 2010, as I am wont to do because you know me, I look shit up, one finds the researchers issuing some very important caveats that WebMD's editors seemed uninterested in including. Here's one, quote, first, the study is based on data from only 6 states where this information is captured. It's a pretty important caveat. We're talking, 6 states, California and Illinois being large ones, but then you got like West Virginia and what was it, Hawaii, the driving stats from Hawaii. Okay. I don't know if there's a lot of driving in Hawaii, but all right. So it doesn't really speak very well for establishing any sort of trends. Secondly, the authors wrote, the effects on drugs on driving performance and crash risk vary by drug type, dosage, and the driver's physiological response and tolerance level, end quote. In other words, detecting marijuana in driver's blood, particularly in California, may be just netting you medical marijuana patients who always have it in their blood and have developed quite a tolerance that allows them to drive unimpaired. The final caveat WebMD chose to admit, quote, also, it is possible for a driver to test positive for marijuana in the blood up to 1 week after use, end quote. Funny they didn't include that one because that's the one that deflates this entire scary statistic. Those marijuana positive dead drivers may just as well be innocent unimpaired drivers who smoked a joint a couple days ago and got hit by some drunk driver. All that a tripling of detection of marijuana in the blood of dead drivers tells us is that more people are smoking marijuana more often, not that marijuana is causing them to crash. Now, we can verify this by consulting the National Survey on Drug Use and Health. In 1999, there were an estimated 8.7 million adults aged 18 and older who'd smoked pot in the prior month. 8.7 million. By 2012, there's an estimated 17.2 million. That's almost double the number of people who smoked at least once in the prior month. And thus, had they gotten wrecked into, had they had an accident sliding on the road, had nothing to do with whether they're stoned, they would be included in those fatality risks. Also, if we break it down to people who took 21 days or more per month, that's a lot of smoking per month, right? We've gone from 2.1 to 6 million. That's almost triple the number of chronic marijuana users who, if they get in a wreck and they die, whether or not they're impaired or not, are likely to test positive for marijuana. And if we go to daily tokers like me and Brian, we've increased from 1.1 million 18 and older adults in this country who smoke marijuana 30 days per month, 1.1 million in 1999 to 3.5 million today. And that's more than triple. So, with all this tripling of marijuana use, what has happened to actual traffic fatalities? They're down, nationally and in almost every state, to their lowest recorded levels. The Fatality Analysis Reporting Service, or system, of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration shows us in 1999 there were just over 37,000 fatal crashes, while in 2012 there were just under 30,000. The first year there have been fewer than 30,000 traffic deaths in America. Measured in per 100 million miles traveled, deaths per 100,000 population, deaths per 100,000 vehicles, and deaths per 100,000 licensed drivers are at the lowest levels ever. And those 6 states that are in this survey from Columbia, 5 of those 6 have fewer fatalities, less than 1 per 100,000 miles traveled, than the national average of 1.1. I'm sorry, that's 100 million miles, excuse me. Less than 1 compared to the national average of 1.1. Now, West Virginia is an outlier. It's at 1.78. But even West Virginia's rate has declined 14.4% since 1999, and the rest of the state's fatality rates have declined 20% or more. Now, the lead author of the study that WebMD is quoting, Dr. Lee, added something they didn't include. Quote, "It is important to interpret the prevalence of non-alcohol drugs reported in this study as an indicator of drug use, but not necessarily as a measurement of drug impairment," end quote. He didn't actually raise his voice that way. Dr. Lee suggests the expansion of drug testing for drivers. Oh, geez. But even the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says, to this day, quote, "It is difficult to establish a relationship between a person's THC blood or plasma concentration and performance-impairing effects. It is inadvisable to try and predict effects based on blood THC concentrations alone," end quote. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, federal government. That's all the time we got for today, but we'll talk some more about marijuana and driving. Also in hour 2, I want to talk about marijuana use around children. What do you think about that? I got some pretty shocking things to say about it, and we'll save it for hour 2. Plus, our High Times Magazine giveaway trivia contest will give you the latest. For Brian the Red, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it.